果你 login 的话，你就可以在我们的 chat box 里面直接提问的。所以然后再来就是说，今天除了这一场以外，接下来有一整天的都是在谈自学的，所以说待会10点钟，所以我们必须要准时结束，因为10点钟还有另外一场是实验大学来了嘛，然后这一场是由我们的那个立法委员王婉玉女士，还有呃4个目前在筹备实验大学的伙伴们，然后一起来讨论说未来的大学会是长怎么样，然后我们可以怎么样办理。那然后下午还有一场，就1点半的时候会有台北市的实验教育创新发展中心的主任，跟宜兰对不起，那个主秘跟宜兰的实验教育中心一起对话，就谈地方政府怎么样来办理实验教育，就是他们怎么管啊，他们怎么辅导啊等等之类的。然后下午3点，我今天才发现还有另外一场也是跟实验教育有关的，是有一群年轻伙伴们在筹备一所骇客高中实验高中，所以如果你对于IT 教育有兴趣或想要了解实验高中怎么筹办的话，下午3点，给大家这样子。OK，so let me see. On the phone, you need to have an app. You have an app. Okay. So I'm just going to help Dorota to log on here. Give me one second.军优的军事人员，请问一下，我们要开始的时候是你会告诉我，还是我就直接开始？Okay, I got a green light to start, and I know we are a few minutes earlier, but we have a pretty good show up now, and then the live stream is already rolling, so I'm just going to get started. Is Dong and Trevor ready? Okay, you're good. Dong, are you cool? I can't see you. You disappear on the camera. So I just want to make sure that you're okay. Nope, I don't see her, so I'm gonna wait until she come back on the camera again, and just want to make sure that she Good morning. Interesting enough, I got kicked out. So that's okay. That's fine. We're back. We're good. And we got 6 messages. Okay. Oh.
So, Tim, in this section, we will have 1 hour. We will have
1 hour. Yes. We have 1 hour. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Don got kicked out. So I have to wait for him to come back.
Okay.
I got kicked out too for some reason. The system. And
all right.
I think 2 of us joined a bit earlier before the before the system administrator come in. So unfortunately, she needs to come back in again.
I see. So this is Google Meet platform. Google Meet platform.
It's not Google Meet. It's called Gypsy. Yeah. Oh, Don is back. Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, sorry, we both of us got kicked out. I think because we joined the section before the our administrator joined, so they kind of reset the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to take. Right, so it's now 8:59 and it's almost time. So are we all ready? Done? Good. Very good. Okay, so we're going to start. 各位军优的伙伴，大家早安。我是陈爸。那今天非常高兴呢，欢迎各位来到我们第2天的军优教育论坛。那今天我们有一整天的自学相关的主题。那首先是由我来为大家服务。那我们今天非常高兴有介绍几位来自于香港跟新加坡的自学的观察者跟参与者，然后也是倡议者，跟我们分享在香港还有台湾对不起，香港跟新加坡的那个自学的现况。那今天这一场的话是用英语跟中文双语进行，所以说待会我们的语坛人是会用英语发言。然后，不过他们都可以接受中文提问或英文提问。那然后也可以用打字的方式打在就是我们的这个对话窗里面。所以说，如果你有什么问题的话，都非常欢迎你提出来。那不用等他们讲完了，你想到什么就直接打。然后或者是说他们讲到一个阶段，你想要用发言的方式，你也可以直接按。你的 speaker unmute， 你就是麦克风打开，你就可以直接发言这样。那所以我先介绍我们2位的语坛人。那首先我介绍来自于香港的 Trevor， 然后 Trevor 现在在跟大家挥手。那 Trevor 他是香港教育大学的老师。那我就让他自己，然后另外一位是我们来自于新加坡的 Don， 然后他会跟我挥手，他没听到我没有关系。然后所以待会我会请他们自我介绍一下，然后我们就是他讲一段，我会稍微简短的整理一下，用中文整理一下，所以让大家确定一下自己刚刚有没有听错这样。Okay, so allow me to introduce our speakers and Trevor and Don. And Trevor is from Hong Kong, and he is a university professor at Hong Kong Education University. And Don is an advocator in Singapore and advocating for homeschool rights. So I'm going to start it, if it's okay, I'll start it with Don and to give us an overview on the situation in Singapore and also tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Dawn. I'm a mother of 3 homeschooling children. They are 13, 11, and 3. I also run the Homeschool Singapore community for the past 8 years. Recently, we've just raised new leaders because there's been a shift in the interest in homeschooling and in the maturing of the landscape. Perhaps to tell you a bit more about myself, I came from a teaching background. I used to teach high school English and I used to be a songwriter. But after I had children, I thought, I've been giving the best waking hours of my life to other people's children. I would like my children to enjoy me. But I didn't understand that homeschooling meant throwing all my ideas of teaching out the window and starting again. And I love that. I love that about homeschooling. It allows me to be a new teacher again, to be a rejuvenated teacher again to my children, because everything you teach in a classroom is very different. Everything you learn about homeschooling in your own home is very different from teaching in the classroom. So I felt that I was given a new chance to grow my teaching skills. In the homeschooling scene, they used to start about, when I started, there was only about 300 homeschooling families. Now, I think there are about close to 1,000, including expats, including preschool, high school, and the ones in our community. I think homeschooling is very dynamic. People come in and out, and Singapore is a very small country, so people do fly in and out as well. And whether they homeschool or not, a lot of times we don't know. I'm quite sure that COVID has changed everything. The difference between homeschooling then and now is awareness. A lot more people are aware and accepting of homeschooling because of what COVID did. Although it's a pandemic and it was quite tragic because it took so many lives, but at the same time, I feel that there's a silver lining in the sky, especially in terms of education. People are not wanting the same things again. They are needing to stay at home. They're needing to come up with new ways to educate their own. And I think homeschooling in Singapore is just beginning to take flight in terms of being in the popular opinion as a viable solution. So that's where Singapore is at the moment.
Thank you. 然后当跟我们说他目前是一个3个孩子的自学家长，然后他曾经是一个高中老师，然后是一个英文老师，然后后来他生了小孩后，他就决定在家里面做好一个自学家长。可是这个自学过程让他又重新的发现这个教学的挑战跟新的尝试。那然后他曾经是他是刚卸任的这个新加坡自学的组织的领导人。那然后因为现在新加坡自学正在有非常大的一个改变当中，从当初他开始自学的时候只有300人，到现在已经有超过1000人了。所以说从就是幼儿园一直到高中都有。那比较有趣的是，在新加坡，因为是一个非常国际化的城市，所以自学的人口会不断的改变。那也没有人知道有多少人在自学，因为有些外籍人士他们就来去的。然后不过有趣的是，在这次疫情以后呢，因为过去一整年新加坡几乎大家都是在家上学的，不管是自学或不是自学，那然后都远距学习。所以像我们台湾现在这样一样，所以说很多人开始发现到自学的好处跟自学的习惯这样一种方式，所以未来应该会有很大的成长机会。Thanks very much, Dong, and let's ask Trevor to give us an overview about. Tell us who you are and what you're doing and what's the homeschool like in Hong Kong.
Yeah, 大家好。Yeah, my name is Trevor. As Tim just said, I'm a researcher. So I'm going to share my observation as a researcher. I'm not a parent who homeschool my children, but I'm doing research about homeschooling families in Hong Kong. As compared to Singapore and Taiwan, and according to the official number, I have to emphasize that, there's only a tiny number of homeschooling families in Hong Kong, okay? For example, I really look into some figures. In 2014, there are only 25 homeschooling families in official record. And the next year, in 2015, okay, slightly increased. There are 33 families, homeschooling families. But of course, for me and for homeschooling community, we're pretty sure that the number is much higher than this number. Okay, for example, like in recent year, there's some survey done by the homeschooling community saying there are more than 100 families doing homeschooling in Hong Kong. And why? I mean, in terms of why, the question why parents who choose homeschooling their children, I would say we can come down into two main reasons. One is basically the parents feel dissatisfied about the school system, and second, basically is based on their personal belief, religious or philosophical convictions. Okay, but here oh, by the way, team, how much time do I have for sharing this Hong Kong part?
Yeah, because you can still continue, but let me just briefly summarizing Mandarin before I forget. I'm running out of my local space. It's getting crowded. and, yeah, 所以Trevor 是一个香港大学的一个教育研究者。那他香港教育大学，对不起的教育大学。那他基本上他说，在香港因为正式的自学的家庭人数是非常非常少的。那像2014年的话，只有25个家庭，然后2015年的话就有33个家庭。可是他的推估，实际上在自学的家庭应该是有超过100个。那然后他最主要他的兴趣在研究的就是然后他会分享一下为什么香港的家庭会想要自学。然后他刚好提到说有几点，第一个当然就是说大家对于教育现场的不满意，就是这是一个非常重要的因素，为什么要自学。So yeah, please continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I would say, yeah, Hong Kong, the development of homeschooling in Hong Kong is definitely lagging behind. And why there's a big gap between the official numbers and the actual number of, or the estimate of the actual number of homeschooling families is, okay, this is the key point. I mean, I want to share the wider context for the audience. And I think this is very important. Is the legal framework in Hong Kong. Okay, the legal framework. The legal framework makes Hong Kong's case a little bit special than other places, I guess, because, okay, in a word, in Hong Kong, homeschooling is not legally regulated. Okay, it's not legally regulated. It's pretty tricky because you can't say it's illegal or legal. Okay, so let me just give you some more background so that you will have more ideas what I'm talking about, because it's a little bit tricky. Okay, so according to the current law, okay, there's no regulation at all about homeschooling. Okay, so that's why there's no official application or no registration process. Okay, so that's why there's no official or reliable figures. Okay, so far. What's going on in about homeschooling in Hong Kong? Okay, but there's definitely a legal regulation about compulsory education. Okay, so on to the opposite side. Okay, compulsory education. Since 1971. Okay, in the colonial period. Okay, Hong Kong. I mean, the parents are required to send the children to school. Basically, this is mandatory. Okay. So after handover, this practice remains. Okay, this law remains in force. Okay, and of course, okay, there's a special exemption rule there. Okay, if you think your child is unable to go to school, then you can okay say as a reasonable cause. Okay, but I mean, you can to the court or to the government, you can't just say that, okay, I hate the school system, I don't like the rote learning model and blah blah as a reasonable cause. Okay, what is considered to be a reasonable cause? Okay, according to official document, basically is really like the three things. Okay, one is economic hardship, another is SEN, special educational needs, and the last one is remoteness. Okay, because in the past, I'm not sure whether you know this, in Hong Kong there are a certain number of residents who are living on the boat. So basically, the children in these situations find very difficult to go to school. So that's why the government allow them to. They won't say homeschool, but I mean, you know what I mean. Okay, they allow them to keep their children away from school. Okay, so
I think I'll interrupt a little bit, and
because there are too much information, right?
yeah, it's quite important. I want to make sure people follow the discussion. OK， 所以基本上香港比较特别的是，因为香港并没有明文的法律规定可以自学，那可是也没有说禁止自学，只是说不知道怎么样自学。那因为香港基本上是有强迫入学条例在，然后这个强迫入学是从以前就是在英国统治的时期，英国管理的时期到现在都有，然后这法律就一直沿用到现在。那过去呢是有3种情形是可以免除强迫入学的要求，所以它是免除，不是说你可以自学。然后这种就是要所谓的合理的理由。那这合理的理由是有3个，第一个就是叫做你的那个经济，你有经济困难，所以因为你实在太苦了，太穷了，对，没办法上学。这个我有点不太懂，待会可以请 Trevor 解释为什么穷苦的人没办法上学，然后不需要上学，对不起，不是没办法，不需要上学，你穷苦的人不需要上学，这我觉得很有趣。第二个是特教生，就是你是所谓的有特殊教育需求的学生，你可以不用去学校。那这个我也不太懂，为什么？因为特教生不是更需要学校帮忙吗？怎么可以因为这样就不去学校？然后第3个是偏远，就是因为香港的过去有一些离岛，还有包含有一些人住在船上的，所以他们其实是不住在陆地上的。那这些家庭的孩子他可以不用上学，因为他们离学校太远。不过对我来讲，听起来3个都像是免除政府要提供教育给他们的责任，比较不是因为要让他们有一个好的教育。So these 3 reasons kind of puzzle me as a reason for exempt people from exempt people from school attendance. Well, it sounds more like allowing government to get away with providing needed service, education service to places and people that is harder to get to.
Yeah. I mean, these 3 reasons is more relevant in the colonial period. It's like more long time ago. I don't think there's any residents living on a boat nowadays. And talking about these special needs, special education needs students, it's more like, okay, if you have SEN children, and there's no, you can't not find any placement in special need school, and you're still waiting. In this period is okay. I mean, the court will allow you to wait. It's more like that. And economic hardship, okay, of course, very obvious is like the past issue. Okay, so but I mean, I would okay. Let me put this way. Nowadays, the government would emphasize more, like more emphasize the narrative, okay, or discourse about okay, why you have to send your children to regular schools. Okay, there are basically 2 main reasons. One is, okay, they assume the regular schools only the regular schools give well-rounded education to children. And second, okay, it's more like a subtle one. They want to prepare the next generation to be a so-called quality citizen. Okay, it's more like a citizenship debate. Okay, so that's why, okay, they only emphasize the compulsory education law, but they never, okay, have any formal policy or public legal discussion about homeschooling or reforming this kind of thing. But okay, that's why I want to spend some time on this. But the law leaves some room or a great area for homeschooling families in Hong Kong. While I'm talking about homeschooling families, and I mean, I mentioned about the tiny number of the homeschooling families in the official record. I'm talking about the local Chinese families, okay? Because in Hong Kong, and I guess in some other global cities around the world, there are a significant amount of expatriate families who do homeschool, okay, in the in their places, in Hong Kong too. But it's interesting that Hong Kong authorities adopt a more hands-off approach, or even like turn a blind eye to them, okay? But for the local Chinese families, it's much more complicated, okay? Basically, there are three main steps that okay, once the authority identify some suspected cases, they would do the following three things. Okay, first of all, they file a case. They detect one, and then they file a case, and then they will make inquiries and investigations, and then they can issue an attendance order. Okay, attendance order.
Right. I'll stop here. Yeah. And then I want to get to Don about this, because Trevor mentioned something. I also want to compare with Singapore situation, but before that, let me just do a quick summary in Mandarin as well. 所以刚刚提到说，刚提到那3个特点，最主要是来自于就是殖民时代的政府的一些政策。那在很久很久以前了，就是当香港经济发展还比较没有像现在这么富裕的时候，所以Daniel Chu 就在我们的留言板里面提到说，穷苦人家要工作嘛，要养家，所以父母带着孩子工作，所以没有办法做学校的作业等等之类的。那的确是这个样子，对，所以这是第一个。然后现在的香港政府比较强调的是所谓为什么要强迫入学，而不是说你可以不用强迫入学。所以有2个原因，第一个就是说，他们香港政府认为说，就是所谓的一般的学校比较能够提供一个所谓的全方位的一个教育，完整的一个教育。然后第2个是他们是比较少谈，可是也是很重要的一个，是强调所谓的公民社会的，他们如何养成一个所谓的香港公民这样的一个中国公民这样的概念。那这个东西其实是一个争议比较大的，因为香港政府现在慢慢的在教育上面有很多想法要积极的介入，那所以他们会想要求让大家都来上学，来学特定的一些价值类。那所以香港的这25个，一开始25个，后来33个这个自学家庭呢，主要是所谓的就是有华裔背景的家庭。那因为香港是一个国际城市，所以它其实除了有华裔背景以外，中国公民以外，还有很多外国居民住在香港。然后，可是基本上香港政府对于这些所谓外国居民有没有上学这件事情，他比较不是那么在乎。所以很多国际的自学家，很多家庭尤其是国际家庭，基本上就不需要特别去申请。那然后那这个是目前的一个状况。那我想接下来就是问一下新加坡好了。那新加坡呢？新加坡是怎么管自学的？然后新加坡政府也会，因为新加坡也是一个国际城市，所以是不是一样住在新加坡的外国人也不用申请就可以自学？
Okay, so there are similarities in terms of the oversight to expats. Expats actually are not controlled. They can do whatever they want. And I think it's very difficult to justify taxpayers' money to chase after expats, especially if you're only coming in for 3 months or 6 months at a time. Why should I spend so much civil service manpower on you, right? So I would think that expats have it easy. In fact, anywhere in the world, perhaps except Germany. But in Singapore, I would say that the oversight on the local homeschoolers is getting tougher. One of the reasons is because the numbers of cases of people who are interested in homeschooling is going up, and which tells the government either something is wrong with the education system, or these people are very defiant, or these people are going a bit crazy and we need to control them. I don't know what it is. It could be a mix of everything. But I feel like Singapore is about 10, 20 years behind Taiwan in thinking about homeschooling as a viable option. I feel it is it's still a very top-down culture. It's I don't know you, I don't know who you are, you have to fill in this form and that form. And so between 6 and 12 years old is our compulsory education act. So you have to go to a primary school. But when you come in and you want to homeschool, you have to show them 6 years worth of curriculum. Like you have to prove to them you have something for 6 years until the national exams. That's a very difficult task for anybody to do, even teachers. I'm very surprised that they insist on this. Of course, when you meet the officers face to face, they're actually really nice. But I think as a government body, it comes across as a very I don't know. It's not a respectful requirement, and it's not also a common sense requirement. So that 6-year thing is quite hard for us. The second thing is homeschoolers at the national exam, they have to score above the lowest 33rd percentile. So the numbers are unknown to us. Every year we don't know what is the number. We just have to wait until the results come out, and then the government officials will tell you, actually your child did not score above the 33rd percentile. The number this year is 199. Your child got 198. You have to retake the national exams next year. I know, it's so shocking, and in fact, it's very painful, and it makes a lot of parents angry because you don't think that your child would be penalized so unfairly like this. I would prefer if they tell us every year what is the number, and then let us figure out from there. I mean, if you want to give us a higher benchmark, at least make everything fair and clear. So they are changing the way the PSLE is calculated. They're going by band this time, but you still don't know whether your child would fall into this band or that band. So there's still a lot of control from the top. Control from over. Singaporeans are so used to a life controlled by government. It's the norm, and nobody thinks it's horrible to the point that they want to protest, because we are also not allowed to protest. So you really grow up with a culture that whatever they do, they must have a reason, and that we will accept. We can complain, but we will accept. I feel that there's a growing movement of young parents who are dissatisfied, but who are also very well educated. So while Hong Kong, one of the reasons is economic poverty, and therefore you're okay with that. In Singapore, you have to be economically independent to homeschool. They have to see that you actually have enough resources to homeschool your child so that your child doesn't suffer education neglect, So they make it a rule that all homeschooling parents, or the main homeschooling parent must be a graduate. It cannot be a non-graduate. So maybe I'll stop there and let Tim translate.
Thank you. Yeah. 所以基本上新加坡跟香港也是很像，因为都是一个国际城市，所以说新加坡政府也不太管所谓的外籍人士在新加坡的教育状况。然后那当然也觉得这也是合理的啊，因为毕竟外籍人士他可能来3个月、6个月、1年，非常短期，然后公务人员要花时间跟精力，去追这些人，要逼他们强迫入学，也没有道理，因为那个纳税人的钱嘛。所以说，可是在新加坡来讲的话，有几个有趣的事情发展。第一个当然就是说，他们的自学人数也慢慢也成长得非常快，然后这是一个有趣的现象，代表反映出新加坡的公民开始对于他们政府提供的教育的一个不满。然后第二个就是新加坡的所谓的义务教育只有6年，就是小学而已，就6到12岁。那在新加坡申请自学的话，你必须要提出6年的学习计划，然后课程内容比较完整。那这个对于新加坡的自学家长来讲的话，是他们觉得是一种侮辱，因为基本上怎么可能就是只要你不要说是就是老师，就不要说是一般家长，连老师 都不太有可能够在小一的时候就能够提出个这么完整的一个自学计划申请。然后，可是他们实际上去跟这些负责审议的审议委员谈的时候，是还好，就是大家都还蛮客气的。只是这个规定本身是蛮欺负人的。然后第二个，我觉得跟台湾最大的不一样是，他们需要参加会考，也就是说他们会有学习的一个能力的一个检测。如果你的孩子没有达到全国最低的33%的标准以上的话，你就必须要明年再重考一遍，也就是说你等于是没有完成义务教育。那问题是这个33%是一个相对参照，其实就是像我们的国中会考一样，它是以一个就是每一年的分数都不一样，因为它每一年考的人都不一样。可是相对参照造成的就是说，你完全不晓得你到底要考几分才能毕业，才能国小毕业。那所以说你可能差1分，你明年就得重考。那虽然说新加坡现在也在修改他们的这个相关的考试的办法，也许未来会变成所谓的区块的区段的，像台湾的国中会考一样，就是 ABC 这样子。不会说一定得都过哦，就差1分就不过。可目前还是这样。然后再来，新加坡的年轻家长对于这样的一种管制，其实也非常不满。那过往的话，就是新加坡的公民比较是属于，就是说抱怨但接受，就是我一边抱怨一边接受政府的安排，因为政府就会帮你安排各种事情。而现在越来越多家长用脚投票，他们不但只是抱怨，然后他们抱怨了，可是就不接受，所以他们就选择自学这条路。那比较有趣，跟香港不一样，是说香港刚刚提到说，是因为有经济困难的时候，你可以选择自学，因为你家里选择不上学，这是过去在就是英国的殖民时代的时候。那可是新加坡是完全颠倒，他必须要证明说你是经济独立的人，就是说你的经济上面是没有无余的，而且你的父母就是要有大学，不是大学，就是要那个研究所学历的人才有办法申请自学。所以这些东西其实就是刚刚讲说，新加坡现况跟台湾20年前一样，这是真的，因为台湾也曾经走过这条路，我们曾经也有自学的法规，各位可能不知道，因为你们没有那么久以前申请过。不过台湾在10年前还是有，就是家长的学历要求，还有家长的收入要求等等，然后当然还有要去参加学校检定考试等等之类的，其实都很像。所以就像刚刚讲的，新加坡现在在走过台湾10年前走过的经验。然后我要鼓励所有的听众、观众朋友们，你有什么问题，你可以举手发言。然后有2个人举手，刚刚闪了一下，你可以再举一次吗？因为你们闪好快，我都不晓得要叫谁。还是刚刚只是测试在举手而已。如果你要举手的话 ，please feel free to raise your hand。然后或者是你可以打字来提问都可以。So just ask questions, OK？ 如果你要问问题的话，请可以随时举手。So Don, please continue.
Okay, so with such a legalistic outlook where only a certain portion of economically more well-off and educated parents can get to homeschool, it will trigger unrest in parents' mind, like, why is it so unfair, especially those who don't have a degree. And those who don't have a degree are equally as smart. They can do lots of things. I've never seen people with degree as more superior over people with no degree. It's just another pathway that you choose in life. But when you bring it down to the criteria where you have to decide which parents are worthy to homeschool, it becomes a very big problem, I think, in our society, because we are preferring one group over another, and when we are conflating parenting with education. And we all know that as parents, good parenting is not synonymous with qualification. You can be a very abusive parent with a very high degree, So parenting has to do with more than, it's not got to do with qualification. It has to do with your attitude in life, has to do with the way you connect with your children, has to do with the way you learn. So actually homeschooling is an extension of parenting, but the government is seeing it as an educational qualification journey. So that's where the bugbear is currently in Singapore, we are working towards making homeschooling more visible, telling their stories, and making sure more people know that there are a lot more things to homeschooling than just qualifications and just education alone. Let me share screen with some of the work that we've been doing.
Okay, so while you're doing that, can I just very quickly, so continue sharing screen. 所以刚刚他提到说，因为这样的一种政策呢，其实会让新加坡造成这种两个社会阶层，一个就是经济优势，然后行动力强的家长，他们然后有文凭的家长们，他们可以申请自学，而另外一些家长就没有办法申请自学。那可是这个其实本身是一个错误的假设，因为没有文凭的家长不代表他不是一个好的家长，或者是他是一个适任的一个自学家长，因为文凭不能证明说一个家长是可以担任一个好的自学家长。那而且他认为自学不是只有教育而已，自学其实是家庭的一个延伸，所以说对于家长来讲的话，这是一个蛮重要的一个地方，然后这也是接下来新加坡homeschooling 他们会想要应该是推广教育，然后让更多人看到自学的样貌。
Okay, so let me share my screen. Share screen failed. Oh dear, I can't share screen.
Maybe you are not. Oh, we should have checked it before.
Oh, okay, but you know what? I'm going to put down the URL.
Okay, in the link. Yeah, please. Everybody.
So the first thing we have is called Homeschool Singapore. This is our website, and we're still updating. So some of the pages are empty because we still haven't filled it in, but those are the things we want to look at. I want to show you also, we are also doing something called Parent Ed. So while we are talking about homeschooling, we're also looking at the needs of everybody who comes our way. And actually the first group that is really needy are the parents. We want the parents to rise up in confidence, to feel that they can homeschool their child, but also other things, because a successful parent or a parent who's confident will really connect with the child. And it doesn't matter if you're schooling or if you're homeschooling, you need to feel that you know you can do it. And I know that sometimes parents feel that they lack confidence and they need a community, so we're setting that up. Okay, so if you can show them the second link, that would be great, Tim.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Let me do that. Okay, sure, problem. Yeah, this parenting, parent ed, right?
Yeah, parent ed, that's right.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, so if you go to curriculum, so under curriculum are the things that we are going to be preparing for, and it's going to be launched in December. I think you've got to,
there we go. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go down, there are things that we are preparing for the whole spectrum of parenting, from pregnancy or people who want to become parents all the way to life after kids. Then the next project we have is called Little You. That's the next link, Tim.
Nope. Okay. Oh, here, Little You.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the way you name your website.
Yeah. Should be very simple to understand.
Very simple.
It's like Little University. So we want to have a community where parents and kids can teach one another, and everybody can learn from one another. Because of the most beautiful thing that I think homeschooling can offer the world is family-based learning. So if you go down all the way, our registration is closed. We're going to have high school, we're going to have boutique classes, but if you go up to Learning Village, right. So basically,
wow, Singapore is really beautiful. Look at this.
Desire snow. Okay.
我在笑他说新加坡看起来像这张图一样。
All right, if you scroll down. So what we have is a guarantee that if you join our Little You program, your children will be safe and will be cared for by the community, which is something all mainstream schools cannot guarantee. They can't guarantee safety, child safety. So this is something we want to work on. Another thing we are offering to everybody is the homeschool library. Tim, please show them the homeschool library.
Okay, homeschool library. There we go, homeschool library. Right, so after I share homeschool library, you need to pause for a second.
Okay, okay.
The website. Okay, yes. To the homeschool library, Oh yeah, welcome to homeschool library ST. Wow, there we go.
So this is for the public to know the resources that homeschoolers use in Singapore, and they can access the homeschool library to get information for themselves as well. So if you click access the library, I'm not sure whether you can go down to access.
Oh, here, okay.
Is there a button there below?
Yeah.
You click on the logo. Yeah.
Right. Waiting for it to load.
Okay.
Okay. So it's an archive. Oh, okay, good.
Okay, we can't really see on the screen, but anyway, for all of you, if you click there, you can see the library. Yeah. So before
it opens a new tab. Hold on. Let me do it because it opens a new tab. So it's switched. I need to. Now there are way too many tabs on my screen. So here, it's Airtable. Here, this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. That's our homeschool library, and they've the community has offered their resources. This is what they can do, and you can look at the categories, see what we are using, and feel free to go online and find the books that you want. So that's what we're doing, and of course the last one is the homeschool alumni project, where the young people takes the lead. But I will stop and let Tim translate first.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So while I'm sharing the last slide, last tab. I'm sorry, not the last slide, and I can start explaining what those. There we go. So see, there's homeschool SG alumni network. 好，所以基本上新加坡的那个SG 他们就是homeschool SG， 他们现在做了一系列的网站，然后不只是一个网站，是一系列网站来做刚刚讲到的，就是所谓的自学的一个宣导教育，还有他们自己的会员的一个会务工作。所以说，像第一个就是这些连结都在我们的那个讨论室里面，你可以直接去点进去。那第一个是 Homeschool Singapore。那就是他们的入口网站，然后第二是 Parent， 然后这里面谈的比较多是跟教养有关的东西，然后 Little U 是给孩子的，然后它会连接到他们就是说以一个村庄一起养大一个小孩的概念，所以里面会有一些可以让学生安全学习的自学的一个环境跟资源，然后 Homeschool Library 是在这个自学图书馆里面会有包含自学的学习的资源，还有就是跟自学相关的文献，或者是你想要多了解跟自学有关的一些理论的东西。然后最后是 Homeschool Alum， 就是他们的自学毕业生的一个发展，然后一些profile，然后你想要多了解他们自学生未来的进路在哪里。对。Thank you. Wow, this is very comprehensive.
One more, homesschoolalumni.sg. You have to show that one.
Okay, I'll go back to homeschool. Yep, hold on a second. Let me do it. And homeschool alum. Yep. Okay, here.
This is where the young people are starting to speak out, and they've created a community and events, and they're taking over the homeschool convention. They're running everything, and this is the start of their project. And so if you're interested to speak to our young people, please contact them. They would love to come and speak at all your events.
Yeah. Okay. 所以基本上他们让他们的毕业生就为他们自己发声，所以说他们的然后他们也开始在主办一些会议啊，或者是一些博览会的自学博览会。然后自学会议，然后所以如果说你有兴趣参与的话，你想要在他们的会议上面发表的话，也非常欢迎，就是可以在这边报名，就6月10号，2021的 EC Talk 这里。 所以你可以来这边报名参加。Okay, cool. Now, going back to Trevor, what's homeschool parents doing in Hong Kong? What do they have something similar to homeschool SG?
Yeah, well, actually, well, but by the way, I think what Dawn and her and other families doing in Singapore is really amazing, huh? I think in Hong Kong there are also a very vibrant parent community. But well, just let me finish what I want to say, what I want to make my point. I'm sorry that I oftentimes that I just give too many details. But
no, I interrupted you. So
what I want to make. Okay, let me just say directly. Okay, basically, homeschooling parents in Hong Kong tend to keep a low profile, very low profile. They basically take a don't ask, don't tell approach, just because what I just said. I mean the background, the official position. I mean the authority positions is that they would examine homeschooling on a case by case basis. So that's why I just gave you guys a lot of legal background. Okay, why? So basically, in this view, Hong Kong's case is not comparable to Singapore or Taiwan because we don't even have a formal procedure to apply homeschooling. Basically, the families just take advantage of the legal loopholes. Okay, but yeah, at the same time, you can see there's really a voice among the families, local families, that they want to reform, they want to do homeschooling and things like that. Okay, but then, talking about this, speaking of this, I want to clarify. Okay, because I give too many details. Okay, the three reasons, like the economic hardships, blah blah blah. This is like the colonial period things. Okay. Yeah. But what I want to say is the position or the court position or the legal framework of in Hong Kong is the homeschooling, quote unquote, is more like for children who are unable to attend school, but not for children whose parents are unwilling to send them to school. It's very clear. Okay, if you look into the official documents, very clear. So that's why. The local Chinese homeschooling families, they tend to keep a low profile. Okay, they just try not being found out by the authority. So it's more like that. So I mean, we don't even start the conversation. I mean, we don't even start the discussion how we should have the regulation and how we should regulate the homeschooling and blah blah. We don't even start with this. Okay, so that's why it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and it is really an issue of non-regulation of homeschooling in Hong Kong. But basically, I also want to add that it is similar in a way that in Hong Kong, homeschooling is also a middle class phenomenon. Definitely a middle class phenomenon, because you can imagine who can really take advantage of legal gray area. Those who have money, right? I think I shared this with a team before. I met a lot of homeschooling families in Hong Kong. They've super rich, okay? I'm just talking about the local Chinese families, okay? They told me if the government really don't allow them to do so, okay, it's fine. I just build a school just for my child. It's fine and things like that. So you know what I mean? So that's why this is definitely a middle class phenomenon. So forget about the economic hardship, okay? Yeah. I just want to give you a background, and it's more like give us a legal message. Okay, if you look at the historical information, you can understand why the government do not approve homeschooling. Okay, so this is what this is like the main point that I want to make.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So Trevor 提到说，其实刚刚提到的那三个是属于就是殖民时代的一个历史背景啦。现在的香港政府，它其实不是用这种方式在思考这个自学。那自学的话，它 比较香港政府的态度是这样，它是目前香港政府是说自学是给那些没有办法上学，那没有办法上学就是包含就是说特教学生他因为找不到合适的学校可以去，例如这是最多的一个例子这样子，那是因为学生没有办法上学，而不是家长不愿意把孩子送到学校。那这是一个非常重要的差别，就是说，香港政府对于这种家长不愿意把孩子送到学校这件事情，他不认为是一个可以自学的一个理由。然后第二就是说，那因为目前香港的自学其实上是在走一个法律的一个不确定性的灰色地带，那你也可以称为漏洞。那虽然是一个灰色地带一个漏洞，因此所以大部分的香港的自学家庭呢，第一个他们都是中产或中产以上的自学家庭，因为只有这些人才有这样的能力跟知识去了解这个法律的漏洞。然后第二个是因此他们因为是受法律漏洞，所以香港自学家庭通常是非常低调的，尤其是就是华人就是中国人的自学家长，因为他们会因为香港政府在考量自学的时候，基本上是没有一套规则的，而是完全是所谓的视个案状况而定。所以视个案状况而定的话，那你这个案子的本身的状况就影响很大，那你就不想要让自己变得太出风头，所以这也是为什么大部分自学家长都保持非常非常低调。可他想要提到说，那因为跟新加坡一样，香港的自学虽然说不是法律政府规定说一定要像新加坡是什么研究所以上啊，然后有一定的收入等等的，没有。可是大部分的自学家长自学家庭都是中产或中产以上的，就是他们其实是也是有办法，就是说如果政府不让我自学的话，那我干脆去申请一个私立学校的牌，就是让我自己的小孩上学就好。那所以他们其实有那个能力去办学的，然后只是他没有选择办学。所以他是想要在告诉我们说，其实目前香港的现况是这样。好，那我再提醒大家，就是说我们大概还有10分钟，应该不到10分钟，5分钟的时间可以讨论，因为10点钟还有另外一场实验大学的议题。那我也想去听，然后相信很多人也想去听，所以我们就开放吧，让大家来提问。我就不讲话，然后请大家就是 unmute 你的麦克风就可以问了。不用客气哦，宝贵时间哦。如果大家都这么客气的话，那我就要进入到请2位语坛人给我们结尾的部分喽。好，我没有看到有人举手，那我就先请since Don go first, I will let Trevor go first. We're going to wrap up now before 10 o'clock. So if Trevor can give us some final thought and reminder about homeschooling in Hong Kong or what you heard today.
Okay, so me first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, the main point I want to make today is the absence of regulation about homeschooling in Hong Kong. So it would raise two problems to me, at least. I mean, in my view, is okay. First, a lack of legal certainty for these families, the homeschooling families, and second, it leaves homeschooling families, although it's like a growing number of homeschooling families in Hong Kong, including the children, okay, unprotected, and underground without any public support, government support and things like that. So I think this is really an issue that the government should face, although I know it's definitely not their priority now, okay? If you do know, pay attention to Hong Kong's news. But anyway, yeah, I think we desperate need, okay, for this legal or public discussion about how we should regulate homeschooling in Hong Kong, okay? Just like 20 years ago or 10 years ago in Taiwan, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Trevor 是要提醒，就是说 讲大家就记得，就是第一个就是说，香港现在面临最大的自学的挑战危机是第一个就是说，缺乏一个明确的法律的一个架构框架，那这是一个非常非常严重的一个问题。然后第二个就是因为缺乏一个明确的框架，大家也不知道怎么申请等等，所以现在有一个就是迅速成长中的一个地下自学家庭的一个地下自学这样的状况，那就是也就是说就是也不是非法，就是说不在政府雷达里面的自学状况。那这些不在政府的雷达，就政府无法管，政府也不晓得他们在哪，这个自学的一个现象呢，其实是对于自学生啊等等的保护都是一个蛮大的一个挑战跟限制这样。所以，然后 Daniel 问说，请问香港可能自己立法规范自学体制吗？ Is it possible for Hong Kong to legislate home education?
No.
No.
At least, okay. I mean, there's never anyone questioning about this law about compulsory education.
Yeah.
And there's no, I can say no, no discussion about the regulation about homeschooling. No,
yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Trevor 觉得不可能，就是因为从来没有人去挑战强迫入学条例，然后更不要讲说由香港人自己发动要立一个自学的法律，而觉得这是不可能发生的事情。对，然后因为香港政府现在的重心也不是放在这里，它有更大的问题要处理。
Yeah, but although I'm more pessimistic. Okay, let me just add one note. People are making a lot of efforts. I mean, the parent communities, homeschooling communities, in a very low profile, they're doing the lobbying and things. I know they're doing something, but just the political climate may give a bleak future about this thing. Okay, at least in my view. Okay.
Yeah. 对，所以因为香港现在的政治的现况等等的，让其实很热心、很积极在想要推动不管是自学法规或者是环境更好的家长们来说，是一个非常非常大的挑战跟限制。Yeah. Okay. Any changes come from China? Yeah, Don. Thank you. And then now let's pass it on. Give us your final thoughts. Briefly, please.
Final point. Well, I just think that I love the education landscape that is underground. I love the alternative education landscape because it's from the ground up. Anything from the ground up is very real, very organic, very immediate. Anything from the top down is very slow. And I want to see children learn, and I want to see children take charge of their education. I told him, I think Taiwan is the leader in alternative education in Chinese-speaking communities. I look at all their programs throughout the years. It's so child-friendly. And I think, what does it take for us as parents to speak up for a child-friendly atmosphere so that our children don't have to suffer mental breakdowns and they don't have to suffer poor choices in education for their future. And the thing is, we don't know what the future is like. We couldn't even predict the pandemic. So how can we even tell children in 10 years' time, this is where you should go? I feel in Singapore, a time is coming where a lot of parents are going to rise up and speak for their children and also to advocate for a better, kinder education landscape. And homeschooling is one of it.
所以当然是觉得说，他其实由下往上的这样的一种发展是一个非常重要的，就是说即使现在稍微不是完全合法或不在政府的管制之内的话，可是这个部分是因为很重要，因为我们对于教育的核心其实还是在于还是在孩子身上，所以你要怎么样让孩子有一个友善的成长的环境，然后所以他就非常欣赏台湾在这方面的努力跟打造这样的一种学习环境。那然后接下来的世界，因为经过了这个疫情以后，其实大家都要意识到说，其实未来世界是不可预测的，所以我们没有办法现在就去想说，我们到底要怎么样去一直规划，然后学校学习就是一直在做这种事情。我们应该要 更认真的更去思考未来更大的问题，而不是只是在追这些小的事情上面。所以我非常谢谢Don，还有谢谢 Trevor 给我们的分享。然后接下来10点钟有一个实验大学的场子，我现在贴在链接里面，欢迎大家过去听。然后下午的话也有一个台北跟宜兰的实验教育的办理方式，我想这个部分可能 Trevor 跟 Don 都会有兴趣，因为这是台湾的 local government 在分享他们如何 manage and administer home education 的实际的一个经验分享。然后待会10点的是由我们的 legislator 王仁玉女士，她是我们的立法委员，她本身也是一个 homeschooler， so we actually have a parliamentarian who is a homeschooler in Taiwan, and she'll be chairing the section starting in 2 minutes to talk about the future of higher experimental education in Taiwan. So thank you all very much for coming, and thank you for staying with us, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you later in the future, this afternoon or whenever. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.